Welcome to the deep dive. You know the drill. We take your sources, cut through the noise, and get straight to the core insights. Today it's Chapter 9, The Ferryman. From, the book isn't named, but we're clearly following Siddhartha's journey. He meets this ferryman, Vasudeva. So, our mission. Extract the key lessons. Life, time, suffering, learning, all that good stuff. Quick, thorough, maybe a few aha moments. That's the goal. Right away, Siddhartha wants to be Vasudeva's assistant, says he needs to learn the boat. But that feels a bit thin, doesn't it? Like there's something else he's really after.
Oh, absolutely. That line, I'll have to learn first how to handle the boat. It's almost circular, right? Learn the job by doing the job. But yeah, if you read between the lines, what he really says is, by this river I want to stay. He talks about starting a new life, how his old one is dead. He explicitly says, my present path, my present new life shall also take its start there. So yeah, it's way bigger than just rowing. He sees the river, this place, as the beginning of something new. And he feels it holds secrets, the boat handling. That's just, the practical way in.
Okay, right. So the river and Vasudeva, who's like part of the river almost, they're central. Vasudeva has that famous line, all I'm able to do is to listen and to be godly. Godly, that's a heavy word. How should we understand that? Especially with the river metaphor. What makes a life sacred in his view?
It's interesting, isn't it? His godliness isn't about power or like performing miracles. It seems much quieter. It feels rooted in his ability to just listen deeply, without judging, and being totally immersed in the river's flow. Think about the river itself, always moving, always present. Maybe that's it. A life becomes sacred when you can mirror that, be present, listen to what's happening, without trying to force things, just receptive awareness. And remember, he actually predicted Siddhartha would be back. He said, I have learned from the river, everything is coming back. You too, Samana will come back. That points to a deep trust in life cycles, doesn't it? Maybe that's part of his sacred understanding, the core insight. Wisdom, maybe even godliness, can be found in just observing, listening.
That fits really well with this next idea. For most people, crossing the river is just in the way, an obstacle. They're going somewhere else, business, family, whatever. But for Siddhartha and Vasudeva, the river is the point. It's the teacher. The source says there are no hindrances without expectations. How does that change how we see, any challenge, not just a river?
Yeah, that's a great point. It flips the script, doesn't it? Our whole idea of an obstacle often comes from expecting things to be smooth, easy, direct. If you expect path A and life gives you path B, then path B feels like a hindrance. But what if you just focus on the experience itself, on learning from whatever path you're on the river, in this case? Then those hindrances aren't hindrances anymore. They're just part of the journey. Opportunities, maybe. It's about dropping those rigid expectations, the ones that create the friction in the first place, like learning anything new, right? Expect instant mastery, and every mistake feels like failure. Expect just to learn, and mistakes are just learning. So the key takeaway there is probably that our expectations are often what create the feeling of difficulty.
Exactly. Like if you came into this deep dive expecting instant answers to everything, any part that makes you think might feel like a roadblock. But if you're here for the process, the understanding, it's all part of the dive. Okay, now let's get into something really meaty. Suffering and time. The source suggests there is no suffering without time. Wow, that's big. Can you unpack that? Especially thinking about the river always flowing, always changing, yet somehow always there.
It is big and really profound. Think about when we suffer most. It's usually about something that happened, right? Regret, resentment, or it's worrying about what might happen, anxiety, fear, past and future. But the present moment, like the river just flowing. It just is. It's always new. The source has that beautiful description that this water ran and ran, incessantly it ran, and was nevertheless always there, was always at all times the same, and yet new in every moment. And then it connects it to us. We aren't the child we were. We aren't the old person we'll become. But there's this continuous flow. Suffering seems to come when we fight that flow, when we cling to a past moment or dread a future one, instead of just being in the now. So the core idea seems to be, suffering often lives in our thoughts about past or future. The present moment itself, it's more neutral, potential.
So the river, same water, but always new water. It's like that old saying, the more things change, the more they stay the same.
Yeah.
It sounds like a contradiction. How does the river help us understand that? What is staying the same and what's always changing?
Yeah, it's a classic paradox. With the river, what stays the same is maybe its essence, its function. It flows from source to sea. It carries things. It supports life. That's constant. But the actual water molecules passing by, they're never the same twice. Constant change. Maybe it's like that in life, too. Our core self, our fundamental values, maybe our deepest purpose that might endure, Even while our circumstances, our jobs, our relationships, even our bodies and beliefs are constantly shifting and changing. So that aphorism, it invites us to look deeper than the surface changes, to see the underlying continuities, the insight being, perhaps, that change and constancy aren't opposites, they coexist.
Okay, that leads perfectly into Vasudeva's secrets from the river. The source mentions two specifically. It sounds like the heart of his wisdom. What are they, and how could they help us, like practically?
Right, these seem absolutely key. The first one is about listening. But not just hearing, it's listening with a completely quiet heart. No judgment, no opinions, filtering everything. Siddhartha notices this right away, says, "These people are rare who know how to listen. I did not meet a single one who knew it as well as you did." I know. It's about truly receiving what's their words, feelings, the sounds of the river without your own stuff getting in the way, like without immediately thinking, what do I think about this? The second secret, this one's maybe even more mind-bending. It's the realization that time, our usual linear idea of it, isn't the full picture. The river exists everywhere at once. Its source, its mouth, the middle, it's all simultaneous. Only the present moment is truly real. Vasudeva says it directly, that the river is everywhere at once and that there is only the present time for it. And this hits Siddhartha hard. He starts to see his own life like that river, childhood, adulthood, old age, not separate boxes, but part of one continuous flow happening now. How does this help? Well, understanding these can free you, can it? From being trapped by past mistakes or future fears. It grounds you right here, right now. That's where the peace is. So the insight. True understanding, true peace comes from being fully present and listening without judgment.
Wow. Those two are deeply connected, aren't they? That kind of listening probably requires seeing beyond linear time, seeing the wholeness. Now the story shifts, gets really emotional with Kamala's return. The source asks why seeing Siddhartha again was just as sacred a pilgrimage as seeing Gautama. That's a huge claim. What's going on there?
It is a huge claim and really poignant. Kamala's story matters here. She was a courtesan, right? But she changed her life, started following Gautama's teachings. She's literally on her way to see the Buddha who's said to be dying. It's a spiritual quest. But then, the snake bite. And she ends up back at the river with Siddhartha. It's tragic, but what makes it sacred is the recognition. In her final moments, she looks at Siddhartha, sees the change in him. She asks, "You have found peace." And then she says, "I'm seeing it. I too will find peace." In that moment, Siddhartha embodies the peace she was traveling miles to find in Gautama. He's been transformed by the river, by Vasudeva's wisdom. So meeting him, recognizing that peace in him, becomes her sacred destination. Unexpected, but just as valid. The core insight, the sacred isn't just in designated holy places or people. It can be found in genuine connection, in recognizing peace where it truly resides.
And right after she dies, Siddhartha has this incredibly profound feeling. Deeply, he felt. The indestructibility of every life, the eternity of every moment. That feels like such a paradox. She just died. How can life be indestructible in that very moment?
Yeah, on the surface it's jarring. But this is where that quote from the Gita, included in our source, really helps. "Never the spirit was born, the spirit shall cease to be never. Birthless and deathless and changeless remaineth the spirit forever. Death hath not touched it at all, dead though the house of it seems." Siddhartha's feeling isn't denying the reality of her physical death. It's realizing something deeper. That the essence, the spirit, the life force, whatever you want to call it, isn't confined to the body. It's timeless, eternal. Kamala's physical form is gone. Yes, that's loss. But her being, the energy of her life, the connection they shared, that transcends the moment of death. Every moment holds that eternal quality, if you can perceive it. It's an awakening to a reality beyond just linear time and physical bodies. So the insight is about distinguishing between the temporary physical form and the enduring essence of life.
Okay, let's loop back one last time to listening. Our source emphasizes Hess's view on this. It's not just about hearing sounds. It's about receiving without your own internal chattering. How did Vasudeva achieve that? And how did Siddhartha learn it?
Exactly. Hess points out, like we touched on, that usually we just hear echoes of ourselves, our own opinions bouncing back. True listening, Vasudeva's kind, means quieting that internal monologue, just observing what his way is, as the source puts it. Vasudeva models it perfectly. His quiet acceptance of Siddhartha, no judgment, no advice unless asked. He learned it from the river, right? The river just flows, it doesn't comment, it doesn't judge. And Siddhartha, by living there, by watching Vasudeva, by feeling the river, he absorbs it. He learns to listen with a quiet heart, with a waiting, open soul, without passion, without a wish, without judgment, without an opinion. That's the goal. It's absolutely fundamental if you want to truly understand anything, another person, nature, yourself, without your own biases distorting everything. The insight, real understanding, starts when you can quiet your own mind and just listen, truly listen.
Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive, It started with Siddhartha wanting a job, but it became this whole journey into life's deeper currents. Vasudeva's godliness wasn't magic, it was profound listening, being present, connected to the river's wisdom about time. The river itself, wow, such a powerful symbol for constant flow, the nowness of things, how change and constancy coexist. We saw how focusing on time fuels suffering, and how embracing the present, like the river, can bring peace. Vasudeva's secrets, deep listening and understanding timelessness, they seem like the keys to that peace. Kamala's tragic return highlighted finding the sacred unexpectedly, recognizing peace in another. And her death led Siddhartha to grasp the indestructible nature of life, beyond just the physical. That's a lot to chew on from one chapter.
It really is. Powerful stuff. And maybe, as a final thought for everyone listening, consider how internalizing this river wisdom, the timeless flow, the power of the present moment, might change how you experience challenges, or even just the ticking clock. What if, by letting go of those rigid expectations we talked about, by just engaging with now, you found that obstacles aren't really obstacles, just more river, more life flowing? Something to think about.
Definitely something to think about. Thank you for diving deep with us today. We'll catch you on the next exploration.